Hello everyone, how are you doing? Welcome back to my channel and welcome if you are new. Today's video is the second part of a collab that I posted in July with two of my dear friends, Peony Charm and Shami Bear. We all made our own versions of the sages from the magic realm, and I made the sage of Untamed magic. So I will link all of our videos from that part of the collab in the description below, as well as Bea and Shami's channels, and you should definitely go and check both of them out. This video, as I mentioned, is the second part of the collab, where we each made an office/living space for our sages. So the wonderful and talented Shami also rebuilt the whole entire magic realm build, and she did such a good job. Like, this whole build that you're seeing right now, other than this room that I am renovating, the whole of the rest of the build was made by Shami. She did so well, but she did build 3 empty spaces for each of us to renovate. So this video I am creating Juniper's space, and as before I will link both Bea and Shami's build videos in the description, so be sure to head over to their channels and check out their room builds, and you'll be able to see the finished version of the magic realm. Before I get into the video, one thing I did forget to mention in the first part is that Juniper is actually gender fluid, but she does lean more towards the feminine spectrum and it uses both she, her and they, them pronouns interchangeably, and I had originally set the pronouns as they, them in the cast video, but for some reason they just randomly removed at one point and I realised I forgot to mention them. So I just wanted to clarify that now. If you saw they, them but heard me talking she, her, it's because they do use both pronouns. And I will also make sure to talk about the build, but first I wanted to talk a little bit more about Juniper's backstory, as I didn't have time to discuss it all in the first video, and I also don't want to end up talking about things in the build that you haven't seen yet, so I thought I'd go into the backstory first and then we can discuss the build afterwards. So I mentioned in the first part of the collab that Juniper is the younger sister in quite a well-known family, and the idea is that their family has always had connections to the sages of the magic realm. Juniper's parents wanted to set both their daughters up for success from very young ages, and so they enrolled them both in magic school. So Juniper's older sister Willow was always excelling and really stood out against her sister, and she was like this super amazing spellcaster. But Juniper really didn't mind this too much. Like, she didn't compete for attention, and they were really quite happy to let Willow be the focus and a centre of attention, because this then meant that Juniper could focus on their own crafting and making and didn't have all this pressure. And it was established quite early on that Willow would take over as the Sage of Untamed Magic. So Willow was being trained and brought up to be this sage, while Juniper, she obviously worked hard, but she was a lot more focused in like creating things. However though, just before Willow was supposed to be granted the official title of Sage, she unexpectedly went missing literally days before, and no one knew where she went and there was no signs. She just kind of disappeared. So all of the current sages panicked because they needed a sage urgently, and the one who was supposed to be taking over and the one who had been trained for this their whole life, who was just gone, and they literally had days and they couldn't go without a sage. So Juniper's parents suggested Juniper. And Juniper obviously didn't feel prepared at all, and had to do all of the training in literally a matter of days. But they only agreed to take on this position of sage on the terms that they could use these new powers to help find their sister, and that Willow would take back over as soon as she was found. So essentially, Juniper isn't supposed to be the Sage of Untamed Magic. She's very new to this position and is still very young. And they still have this sort of immature and unprepared mindset and vibe, because they are just trying really hard to do this to find Willow, so that Willow can take back over as the rightful sage. And that pretty much just brings us up to speed with Juniper and where we're at with their story, and also it kind of gives a little bit of an insight into my motivation behind the build, but also the creator sim from the first video. So I hope you enjoyed Juniper's backstory, and let's talk a little bit more about the build. I had the idea to use platforms straight away, and I thought this would be a really interesting way to add some definition to the space, and it also separates it, as it is supposed to be both a living space and an office space. So I thought being able to divide that by different like platforms and levels would create that divide a bit nicer, and I think it worked quite well. I am really proud of how it looks actually, although I did have to lower the top platform by 1 after recording when I was taking screenshots, because I realised that the bed actually pops out if you go up a floor, and that's obviously not ideal. But it still creates that nice separation effect, and it still has that nice divide. It's just like not quite as high. I also wanted to make sure I used a lot of browns and greens, and this was a way to connect Juniper with nature and also kind of like the forest life that she is used to. I especially love the green wooden walls. I just think it's such a gorgeous colour, and it really brings together the whole room. And sticking with the naturey theme, as you can tell, I used a lot of plants, mostly so that they feel at home. I especially love the whole bunch of plants in front of the bed, just behind the bookshelves. I just think it's quite a nice little area. And it's an excuse to use so many different plants, because I try to use plants that I don't always use in game, just because I feel like a lot of the ones that come with the game don't feel like your average houseplant. They're quite like, I don't know, weird. I love them, but they don't always fit into your normal like family home. So I thought this was a great excuse to use more fun and different types of plants. And I just really love the plants and ivy on the walls. I just feel like it adds more to that naturey feel, and it opens up the space a little bit. And it was also just a sneaky way for me to fill the walls as well, so I didn't have to find like pictures or shelves or anything. I was just like, put a plant, put some ivy there. I really like it. I also found some really cute bug lights from Realm of Magic that I don't know if I've ever used before. Actually, I think I've used them once before, but I think they're really cute, and I think they were perfect for Juniper space, because it adds kind of like that magical feel to it, but it also brings us back to that nature theme and aesthetic that I'm going for. And I just think they're so cute, and I wanted to make sure I used as many items from Realm of Magic as I could. So I furnished with that filter on at first and picked loads and loads of different items I liked to kind of just chuck them in, and then I've made them look cute afterwards. But I was just like, I'm gonna pick all the ones I want first, and then I'll find spaces for them. And I think this room is definitely very, very Realm of Magic. But after I kind of went through all the Realm of Magic stuff, I went through both paranormal and werewolves as well, because I feel like these packs go quite nicely together and they have very similar aesthetic, and I think it ties the room together nicely. I just really like the overall aesthetic of this space. It's very Juniper, and even though it's in a basement, it still feels quite like outdoorsy and naturey and foresty, and I like that. I am very proud of myself for being able to achieve this. I hope you guys can see it as well, and I hope you like it as well. There is a little area in the back corner of the bedroom space with a few boxes, and I wanted to add these to make it look like Juniper has recently moved to the realm, so that they're still kind of like unpacking and setting up their space, but also maybe as a way to kind of not settle in completely, because they know this isn't where they're going to be staying. So they've kind of like decorated as much as they need to, but they've kind of still got these bits where they're like, I don't want to unpack entirely because I'm not going to be staying here. I thought it was quite a nice little touch to tie us back to her backstory, and also just to show us that she is still very new to this role. And I also thought that adding a bar to their room would be really fun, because obviously Juniper is quite cheeky and quite playful and a little bit immature, so I thought it would be really fun to add that in the bedroom. And I also imagine that Juniper is probably the sort to maybe make a drink or two while she's working. She just kind of gives me that vibe. And I don't know, it fills the space nicely and it's just very Juniper. But anyway, we are coming to the end of the video now, so I want to say thank you so much for watching. I really hope you like this build, and I hope you enjoyed hearing a bit more about Juniper's backstory. Make sure you go over to B and Shermie's videos as well, give them some love, and check out how they've furnished their Sage's offices and living spaces. At the time of me recording this, I have no idea what their rooms are going to look like, so I'm very excited to see. We will all be uploading the full furnished version of this build to our galleries, so if if you want to download this Realm of Magic build and add it to your own save, you can find it on any of our gallery pages. And B will also be making a playlist of these videos so that all 6 parts will be together and easier to find. So I'll make sure to link that below. It will have all 3 cast videos and all 3 build videos, so easier to watch in one go. Thank you again so much for watching. I do hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure to leave a like and comment down below and let me know what you think. And if you haven't already, please do subscribe. It means so much to me, and I will speak to you all in another video. Bye everyone!